All right, so today we're going to focus on the order of operations. I know all of you know the order of operations. You knew them before yesterday when we reviewed the order of operations. So today we're really going to not just focus on what are the order of operations, but we're just going to do some examples in your notes so that you have them there to then help you with the assignment, okay? So really quick, we're going to be following this, right? Oh, you don't have to. I was just taking up less room in your notes. You don't have to. The topic was order of operations. And today's date is 8/2/17. So, since we reviewed what these letters stood for yesterday, I'm not even going to write the words up here because you all know what they are, okay? Yesterday we talked about parentheses, but remember we said it could be also brackets, or it could be also a fraction where we had to do what's on top and then figure out what's on bottom and then work through it. We talked about what exponents are, and then we needed to remember that multiplying and dividing was left to right, and adding and subtracting was left to right, okay? So, for instance, you might have something that is easier, like 5 to the third power. Like, that's really not, there's nothing that we have to do that's a lot here. But what does this mean? Okay, 5 times 5 times 5. Now, if you want to, when it's time for you to do your assignment, let's not get them right now, but when it's time for you to do your assignment, if you want to use a calculator, please do, okay? This is not testing to see can you multiply. You wouldn't be in this class if you can't multiply, all right? So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Do some of you know what this is? I guess not. It's 125. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So, again, if it's something where you have exponents, please feel free to use a calculator. And if you have a calculator that you've never used before and you're unsure how to use exponents on that calculator, I will help you later, okay? Or I bet you all can help each other. Now, if you have something like this, so this is a fraction that has those exponents. What we want to do here, technically, we see parentheses, right? Oh, hold on. If we could get a whole number by doing 5 divided by 6, then do it. But we can't, right? 5 divided by 6, we'd get a decimal. So we don't want to do that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do 5 over 6 times 5 over 6. I know, right? Not quite. Try again. 25 over 36, right? No. Now, what I was saying, if we could, for instance, if we had 18 over 3 to the second power, we could do it that way, but we're going to come up with big numbers and then we're going to have to simplify, okay? So, hold on. So what we should do here, again, parentheses, we can do 18 divided by 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So that is way easier than this method. But notice the difference in those, okay? This fraction we couldn't simplify really. This fraction we could. All right, we feel okay about those two things? All right. So let's do, I'm just moving it up. That's what's nice about the page extender. It doesn't really go away. I'll get out of your way in just a second. All right, go ahead and write that down. I'm going to change colors while I solve this. So we're getting a lot of blue up here. So, I see parentheses. That should always be the first thing that points out, right? In these parentheses, can I do anything with this 20 over 5? I could make it a 4. Now, over here, in these parentheses, can I do anything with a 3? What are those parentheses there for? So you can multiply. So that adds a whole other level of complications, right? So we don't want to multiply yet. All right. So I did parentheses. I simplified what was in those parentheses. Now let's do exponents. So this is 4 times 4 times 4. 64. What is that exponent for? Should I do 10 times 3 and then do that to the second power? I need to do 3 to the second power first. So 3 times 3 is 9. So I really need to do 10 times 9. Now I'm going to do 64 minus 90. Uh-oh. What happened to us? Ooh, nice. We're not going I think there's only one negative on your assignment, so don't get too worried, okay? Remember, you're thinking backwards. 64 positives, 90 negatives. Since they're different signs, we're subtracting. That's why people got 26. And since there were more negatives, that's why it's a negative 26. I know that integers, adding and subtracting integers is something that people struggle with. So we'll deal with that as it comes. All right, do you feel okay with these? So let me show you something else that really isn't more complicated, but it looks more complicated, okay? I'm going to say that x equals 2 and y equals 5. So if I had this, and I asked you to solve this, what do you think you would need to do? Very good. So just like we talked about that word substitution on DMR, here it is. We're substituting what they tell us x is. And then we get our answer. So you'll have some that are super easy like that, and then you'll get into some that are more complicated. Let's do a complicated one, and then I'll be done. Yes, bless you. Let's do... Again, x equals 2, y equals 5. Write it down. Shh. Write it down. This will be our last problem, and then I'll give you time to work. So once you've written the problem, the next thing we want to do is rewrite it by substituting. So I'm not doing any math right now. Now I'm going to start thinking about my order of operations. I have parentheses, but can I do anything in there? No. They're just there to show multiplication. So I don't want to worry about the parentheses. So I want to move on to exponents. So I need to do 2 to the second power, which is 4. So I have negative 4 times 4. Hey, we just did 5 to the third power. Do you remember what that was? Ooh, boy, you guys are on it. And then we didn't do anything with divided by 5. Remember how I talked about on DMR that even though it was like a really easy problem on DMR, that we wanted to rewrite our problem each time? That's because when we get to complicated messes like this, it makes more sense, okay? Now what? All right, so we do multiplying and dividing left to right, correct? So when you multiply a negative times a positive, you get a, oh yes. And then 125 divided by 5 would be 25. And then we have an integer problem. Very good.